Now, if you use logic, you can understand that force, power, and energy cannot exist in of themselves. They are byproducts of physical matter. Physical matter must generate, produce, and exert force, power, and energy. Force, power, and energy cannot exist in of themselves. They are produced, exerted, and generated by physical matter. Now I'll get that out of the way. I'll show you how scientism debunks themselves. The law of conservation of energy states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only converted from one form of energy to another. So you would ask, where did it come from? Anyway, you scroll down here a little. Renewable energy from the sun. Can energy be created from nothing? Well, let's take a look. Even if the matter is somewhat more complicated than previously thought, energy cannot be obtained from nothing, even though it can become negative. So energy cannot be obtained from nothing. Well, first of all, nothing is nothing. It can't exist. So let's say nowhere. Nowhere cannot exist because it is nowhere. Now, these people tell us that our physical three-dimensional reality of up, down, and width, consisting of physical matter, came from where? Here we have their theory of the Big Bang. The Big Bang was the moment 13.8 billion years ago when the universe began as a tiny dense fireball, which they call a singularity, that exploded. Most astronomers use the Big Bang theory to explain how the universe began. But what caused this explosion in the first place is still a mystery. Now, do you see? What they are doing is making things up that contradict natural law, that energy cannot be created or destroyed. That debunks this nonsense here. Now, they show these pictures here, which are also illogical. Can you see how this is illogical right here? You got this explosion here. See how they always show this explosion going in one direction? The only way you can get like an explosion to go in one direction is if you take, let's say, a stick of dynamite and place it up against a brick wall or a steel wall. That explosion is going to take the path of least resistance. So it's going to go this way. Not to say it won't do any damage to the brick wall, but most of the explosion will go in the opposite direction, the path of least resistance. So a singularity out there in nothing, their time, space, and matter didn't exist. Where did the singularity itself exist? If this was at no time and no place, because they say before the Big Bang, time, space, and matter did not exist. So where did this singularity itself exist? Which is nonsense. Can you not see that? And then they show it all exploding in one direction, which again is illogical. They got the little ball Earth there, see it? In reality, an explosion would go in all directions. But that would be too complicated for them. So they minimize it by showing you this nonsense. An explosion that only, what about this way and that way and this way? The singularity was surrounded by nothing, right? And nothing can exist, so it's all illogical. Logic cancels this out in every direction. It is nonsense. Can you not see that? Now they teach us that a singularity was an infinitesimal point of infinite density. Let's repeat that. An infinitesimal point of infinite density. Infinitesimal point that means that it was 1,000,000,000,000 times smaller than an atom. An infinite density means that it had a lot of matter, infinite matter. Can you not see how that cancels each other out? It is nonsense. Now here is your at no time and no place. A gravitational singularity, space-time singularity, or simple singularity is a condition in which gravity is predicted to be so intense that space-time itself would break down catastrophically. As such, a singularity is by definition no longer part of the regular space-time and cannot be determined by when or where. Therefore, it is before space and time. And they say, at no time and no place, nothing from nowhere exploded. Now here we call this space a singularity, a point of infinite density and gravity. Before this event, space and time did not exist, which means the Big Bang took place at no place and no time. Then this incredibly hot and dense cauldron, for reasons unknown to physicists, started to expand, not explode. Well, rapid inflation is an explosion. And I'm sure there are a lot of you funny individuals out there who want to argue what an explosion is. An explosion is rapid expansion. So again, they show this nonsense of a Big Bang, rapid expansion, but only in one direction. Is that very hard for you to understand how illogical this rapid expansion explosion is? It would not just go in this one singular direction. They do this to not complicate the nonsense they then tell you about redshift and all that nonsense. Because if it was going in all directions, it would be 1,000,000,000,000 times more harder for them to get you to believe, which I would disagree, because you instantly believe, memorize, and regurgitate anything and everything they tell you. Right here, look at this nonsense. What is this? It's garbage. If you employ logic, you can see how retarded that is. That is not a logical explosion or rapid expansion in one direction. It would be in all directions. And who brings us this nonsense? Georges Lemaitre. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. This startling idea first appeared in scientific form in 1931 in a paper by this individual, a Belgian cosmologist, and you guessed it, Catholic priest. The theory accepted by nearly all astronomers today was a radical departure from scientific orthodoxy in the 1930s. So yes, your cosmology is brought to you by the Catholic Church. Now here they tell the truth a little bit. In life, the human body comprises matter and energy. And in all logic, energy, force, and power cannot exist independently in of themselves without matter. Matter is required to produce, generate, and exert force, power, and energy. So again, we have the first law of thermodynamics debunking the Big Bang. The law of conservation of energy states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. If you have even an ounce of logic, your model is debunked at its foundation and rooted out. This also debunks a Big Bang. Entropy, a thermodynamic quantity representing the unavailability of a system's thermal energy for conversion into mechanical work, often interpreted as a degree of disorder or randomness in the system. Lack of order or predictability, gradual decline into disorder. This is a fact that can be demonstrated. Things do not get better over time. Order falls into disorder, and you cannot get order from disorder. Is that very hard to understand? So your Big Bang and evolution are hereby debunked by physical law. And here we have at the top the Big Bang, the birth of the universe, around 13.7 billion years ago. Everything in the entire universe was condensed in an infinitesimally small singularity, a point of infinite denseness and heat. Do you see how that contradicts itself? An infinitesimal point of infinite density? How can something be infinitesimal with infinite density? You people, they are mocking you. Use logic. So your model, which I just debunked, which derives from the Catholic Church, teaches at no time and no place, nothing from nowhere exploded in one direction and created matter, and gravity assembled every star, planet, moon, the sun, and the earth. If you believe this, you are not an atheist. Gravity is your God, Newton its prophet, and NASA its disciples. There is no such thing as time. Time hasn't one iota of presence, substance, form, or physicality. Time is a concept. Time was not discovered behind a rock or in a cave. It is a concept. It is a mental concept to synchronize from one moment to the next moment. There is no such thing as yesterday or tomorrow. We live night and day, awake or asleep, in the constant present. Yesterday and tomorrow are only words we use to remember previous acts accomplished or acts we wish to accomplish. Acts that we've already accomplished we surmise as yesterday, and acts that we wish to accomplish or plan to accomplish are what we call tomorrow. They're just words. We live in the constant present. The constant present does not acknowledge the appearance or departure of the sun. Sunset, high noon, sunrise, it is always the constant present. Time hasn't one iota of presence, substance, form, or physicality, therefore it is immaterial. The hands on a clock are not governed by time. They are prescribed by pre-programmed increments designed by man, which run per energy of a physical wine, batteries, or electricity. So do you understand that when they say time can be sped up at a certain altitude, once you get high enough, time speeds things up? No, it doesn't. Time would have to have presence and substance, form and physicality of itself to interact or make contact with other physical matter to speed it up. It is nonsense. This cannot be demonstrated. All they can do is write it down or verbally tell you, which you instantly believe, memorize, and regurgitate it as fact. It is not fact. There is no such thing as a fourth dimension. We live our lives within a three-dimensional physical reality of up and down and width. There is no fourth dimension of space and time. Space is just an area where you place matter, like making space in a drawer to put a pair of pants. Time is a concept. You cannot combine the two. gravity is not a supernatural, godlike force power thing. But that's what you make it when you believe in the beginning gravity created the heavens and the earth. It assembled the earth, the sun, the moon, all the stars, and all of your planets. You are assigning godlike supernatural abilities to this thing that does not exist. That's why they must admit, however, if we are to be honest, we don't know what gravity is itself in any fundamental way. Do I need to waste the constant present to show you that? They can only tell you how it behaves, which are the alleged effects and results. They have an effect but no cause, no causation. It is made up. I implore you to face reality. Physical science that can be physically demonstrated. To override, crush, and destroy theoretical physics of a giant spinning spherical waterworld space ball, spinning faster than a bullet, not in RPMs, but miles per hour, 1,038 miles an hour, which is just as fast as a mediocre bullet, speeding through an infinite and expanding vacuum universe billions of light years across, which is illogical. Nature abhors a vacuum. There are no natural vacuums occurring on the earth. They must be made by man or woman. You must have a physical container, a vacuum pump to remove the air. Then you have a vacuum. Once contained, it cannot expand. Your model is nonsense. It is a model because it cannot be demonstrated. I'll leave it at that. Do your own research, which is, they don't like just telling people. It's a red flag phrase. I have a video on that. But do your own research. Do not let others program you. Stop instantly believing, memorizing, regurgitating everything someone in a white lab coat with a German or Swedish accent tells you. Stop it!